What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. Okay, I want to try something new here. I like trying out new ideas just to see how they do and to see how people react to them and so on and so forth. You guys do not know, but you are my experiments. You guys are my test subjects for ideas and concepts and so on and so forth. So, experimenting on you. I am a mad scientist. I want to try my hand at creating a video series called Things You Didn't Know. And in this first video, which kind of makes the most sense, the Joker knows he's a comic book character. And here's how we know that. So, the Joker knows this, and we know that we know. We make believe that we don't know, and the Joker makes believe that he believes that we don't know, but knows that we know. Everybody knows. I don't know if you guys ever saw Under Siege Dark Territory. Not as good as the first one. That's one of my favorite scenes with that one guy. I can never remember his name. Anyway, so yes, the Joker knows he's a comic book character. Now, here's the thing. One of the big questions people ask here is, has the Joker ever broken the fourth wall? Now, for those of you guys who don't know what that means, when it comes to breaking the fourth wall in comic books, it's literally addressing the audience. And we'll talk more about that here in a second with regards to the history of it. But the Joker's done this before, and he did it in continuity. This came in 2010 with a Batman 80-page special. There was basically like a whole bunch of short stories, or at least I think you can kind of pick and choose which ones are in continuity. But the one with the Joker, the first story you get is the one that's in continuity. And the Joker's kind of crazy, and he's in Arkham, and going on, kills a doctor, that kind of thing. And the whole idea is that at the end of it, he kind of addresses the question of if he's crazy. He's like, am I crazy? Of course I'm crazy. He's like, but I'm talking to my imaginary friends. I mean, does that make me crazy? And then he addresses the audience and says, you are imaginary, right? That's the whole like that right there. Joker breaking the fourth wall means the Joker knows he's a comic book character, because if he didn't, he would never address the audience. Now the question is, how do I get to that conclusion? Okay, so let's talk about the idea of breaking the fourth wall. A lot of people attribute this to Deadpool, which Deadpool made it popular, or at least he was the one that really kind of blew the doors off on it and made it into a great big huge thing. But by and large, it started with She-Hulk. So when John Byrne took over the She-Hulk solo series, or really launched the She-Hulk solo series, her covers always had her breaking the fourth wall. And the first issue was something like, hey, this is my first run, make sure, I really hope you guys enjoy the story, something along those lines. Once it got to the point where it wasn't really selling and Marvel was going to cancel it, then she would say things like we're running out of options here, you got to buy this story, we're going to get canceled. And then on the last issue, it was something along those lines. It was like, well, you guys didn't want to buy my comics, so now we're getting canceled. And that's where the whole thing came from with breaking the fourth wall and She-Hulk. And there were some people who did it, a little bit after that. With Deadpool, that's when everything changed, because what you had back in the day is you had this idea of Joe Kelly writing the Deadpool comics. And the reason why that works is because at the time, Deadpool was like a holdover. Deadpool was introduced back in the old New Mutants stories, which were turned into the X-Force stories, which you ended up having Rob Liefeld write for a little while. And Deadpool kind of showed up here and there. And then really he got a solo series, or at least a mini series, with the Circle Chase by Mark Waid. And that was spun out into his own solo series. But when Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness took over, Marvel didn't really care. They were just like, publish a thing, who cares? Like his audience is basically gone. He has no real place in Marvel Comics, because the era of high octane stories with GW Bridge and Cable and all those guys, that's all basically gone now. So I know a lot of old people are just like, damn, GW Bridge, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. And there's no reason for you to. If he showed up, nobody would care. He'd showed up for one issue and people just be like, who the hell's that? And then just close it out and just be done with it. But anyway, so when Joe Kelly took over the title, there was one point where Deadpool broke the fourth wall for the first time, and he was talking about Wolverine or Kitty Pryde or something like that, and just kind of made an offhanded remark. It was crazy too, because he was dressed like an old woman. And then he did it one more time, and there's one point where he actually uppercuts Kitty Pryde out of the panel. And then eventually, Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness leave. Ed McGuinness drew it for the first 7 or 8 issues, and then Joe Kelly wrote it for a little while, then he leaves. And then you start getting these subsequent writers, Gail Simone writes it for a little while, and a handful of other people write Deadpool for a little while, and then it goes to Christopher Priest. And at the time, Christopher Priest was the writer that you sent comics to when you wanted to cancel him, when you wanted to get rid of him. And it's one of the funny things, when Christopher Priest first takes over, Deadpool ends up going to this trailer for canceled titles. And when he gets in there's Iron Fist and Moon Knight and so on and so forth, and Deadpool's like, nope, not gonna happen. And he literally jumps into a pool of water, and the story kicks off with him in a tank. And that's where the whole thing goes in. But it became common practice for Christopher Priest to just have him break the fourth wall. And so it was kind of ironic. The guy who is the person that Marvel goes to cancel heroes actually made Deadpool all the more popular. And he's been a mainstay with breaking the fourth wall ever since. But the whole idea behind that is Deadpool's basically crazy. He's out of his mind. And because he's so insane, he can break the fourth wall without any real regard or anything like that. The Joker never really does that often. The Joker never never really breaks the fourth wall. And in fact, this is really the only story I can find that's in continuity where the Joker actually does it. There's never been an instance, as far as I'm aware, any time before that's in continuity where the Joker did that. Like an Emperor Joker he may have, and a couple other times, but this basically establishes like the Joker knows he's a comic book character. Now that brings into sharp relief the question, is that the reason why the Joker's crazy? Is that the reason why the Joker's out of his mind? Is because he knows he's a comic book character and doesn't care what he does. The problem with this is that different writers have taken different liberties with the insanity of the Joker. Like if you go and you read the old Steve Englehart comics from back in the 70s, I think it was, or the 80s, you basically get Joker from Batman the Animated Series. You go read like the really, really old Batman comics from the 1940s, where you had like Bob Kane and Bill Finger who wrote and drew the whole thing, and you get like really dark, sadistic Joker. You read like Scott Snyder's New 52 run, you get a far more sinister Joker who's actually just totally screwed up and cuts his face off. But in none of those instances does he ever truly break the fourth wall. Does he ever truly address the reader? There is one comic from back in the day, and I cannot remember for the life of me what issue it is. It escapes me so bad. But there is one point where the Joker turns a page for the audience, which is kind of crazy. But this is the only time the Joker ever actually addresses us as the reader. And so that establishes Joker breaking the fourth wall. That means that Joker's aware of us as the audience reading about his comic book character. And if he's aware of us as the audience reading about his comic book character, then he knows he's a comic book character. And so that's kind of a cool thing, because then the question becomes like, what could you do with that? Like what could you do with the idea of the Joker breaking the fourth wall? And what could you do with him knowing that he's a comic book character? See, honestly, it's difficult to tell, because the Joker is like the #1 greatest comic book villain of all time. At least if you go and look at the various, I guess like the various polls and things like that, I would say the Joker's the most popular comic book villain of all time. Like no doubt, like bar none. I would say he's probably the most popular comic book villain to ever exist. Everybody knows who the Joker is. I mean, it's the Joker, man. You can walk up to like an 80-year-old lady on the street and show her a picture of the Joker and say, "Who's this?" She's like, that's the guy, the Joker, the Batman villain, like the joking guy. You know, she may not know exactly who he is. I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't, but they'd be like, that's the Joker. Like everybody knows who the Joker is. You know, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't look anything like the Joker, and I just want to get that out of here. Like, let's just all sit down and say he doesn't look anything like the Joker. Doesn't mean the movie will be bad, but he does not look like the Joker. We can all universally agree as well that Mark Hamill was the best version of the Joker. Heath Ledger's a close second, but of course Mark Hamill played the voice of the Joker in the animated series. But without Mark Hamill, the animated series Joker would not have been nearly as interesting. But with this whole thing going on, the problem you have there is that with the Joker knowing he's a comic book character, I think him continuing on the path that he is, which is to say just being crazy and sinister, actually works. Because if they decided to adopt the Deadpool moniker, the Deadpool concept of the Joker, and have him breaking the fourth wall all the time, it would take away from him. It would take away from the interest in his character. The Joker being so screwed up, being obsessed with Batman, all those things, that's what makes it kind of cool. It'd be interesting to see like an offhanded remark that he says, where he says like, oh, it doesn't matter if you catch me, like I'm gonna go back to Arkham Asylum because, and I'll get back out again because that's what the writers want. That would be kind of a cool thing. And that's one of the things that people usually look for when they say like a character break, a character knowing that he's a comic book character. Deadpool does it all the time. And Deadpool did it in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and Deadpool Illustrated, and Deadpool Kills Deadpool. The whole basis behind those stories was that Wade knew he was a comic book character. Like that was the whole point. Like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe because he realizes that they're basically trapped in a cycle of being killed off by writers and being restored again, and decided to kill them all. And there's actually one point, I think in Deadpool Illustrated, where he eventually goes and kills the entire writing, artist, and editing staff for the Deadpool line. And it's just like, you guys are done because all you guys do is keep killing us. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. But that's the thing. I mean, there's overt recognition that someone in a comic is a character, that they're not real, and then there's a subtle hint to it. With the Joker, it's more of a subtle hint. It's more of a subtle like statement. The Joker knows he's a comic book character, but nothing ever comes of it after that. With Deadpool, you see it all the time. He recognizes full on that he's a character, that he's a comic book character, and it doesn't matter. And it's not something you see like, well, you used to see it all the time. You don't really see it so much anymore. Him breaking the fourth wall isn't something that happens all the time. It's one of those things that people knew happened, and so they assume that it's still going on at the moment. And occasionally he'll do it. But again, it's one of those weird things. I just kind of wanted to establish that, something you didn't know. Like the Joker broke the fourth wall once, and that means the Joker's aware that he's a comic book character. But let me know what you guys think, because I'm kind of curious. Does it matter to you guys that Joker knows he's a comic book character? Is it relevant to you guys? Do you guys care at all? Or would you prefer that the Joker doesn't know he's a comic book character? Like, does that sound more reasonable to you? Because I know there's a lot of diehard Joker fans out there, and I know there's a lot of diehard fans out there who just kind of like take this comic, sweep it under the rug, and pretend like it doesn't exist and call it a day. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really kind of curious, and let me know what you think about this series too, about this video idea. Because in comics, there's all kinds of little tidbits. I mean, for the hardcore reader, they'll probably know this stuff, but for the average Joe, they probably wouldn't. Like, different things like that. So let me know what you guys think, and yeah, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.